regular meeting of the Dutchess County IDA. Okay, Jasmine, could you take a roll call vote, please?
Jim Dean,
Present.
Mark Doyle, Kathy Bauer,
Here.
Amy Bondieri,
Here.
James Cohn,
Here.
Don Sagliano,
Here.
Al Torrigiani.
Here.
Okay, we do have the conflict of interest policy in this document, and just again, if anybody has a conflict with any item on the agenda today, I would appreciate it if you would let us know now by stating so.
I'll have a conflict with number 12, the depository bank.
Okay.
No, the regular IDA meeting.
Oh, sorry, I'm ahead.
We moved to the LDC. Okay, but there is, oh no, you should be good for this one. Okay, so no conflict there. Any other conflicts or potential conflicts? Okay. Oh, Mark, I'm sorry.
I think we're going to hear from Todd Erling with HVADC.
Yes.
So I'm president of that, or chair of the board of directors of that group.
Okay, council, is there a problem with Mark being present just for a review of the activities of that organization?
If there's no motion on it.
And there's no discussion or, yes, just to bring us up to date? Okay, so Mark, we don't feel that's a conflict, so you can remain.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else?
But you will probably need to recuse yourself for item 9B, where we
Right.
talk about renewing the contract with Hudson Valley Ag.
Right, so shall I leave the room at that point?
Yes, I think that'd be appropriate. Okay. And during the review, you just should not be commenting on anything. Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Proof of meeting notice,
Yes.
bills and communications,
None.
approval of minutes of December 14th meeting. Does anybody have any corrections or changes to those minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve them.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Kathy.
Second.
Thank you, Jamie. Jasmine, could you please take a vote?
Al Torrigiani,
Approved.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
James Cohn,
Approved.
Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Mark Doyle,
Approved.
Jim Dean.
Approved. Okay, Sarah, no bills and communications. I'm sorry, I went through that already.
There is no report of the treasurer this month because we are, beginning our end of year audit. So there is no December report.
Okay. Any reports of committees?
No,
Okay, unfinished business.
none.
All right, new business. Welcome. We have with us Todd Erling. Mary Ann Johnson, is she also present?
I don't see her. She may be, no.
Yeah, I'm the one who'll be joining you, just us this morning. Marianne actually had an online course for National Development Corporation that overlapped. So
No problem. Okay, so Todd is going to give us a report on the activities from 2022. So welcome.
Thank you all. Good morning. Happy New Year. And I hope everyone had a restful holiday. Seems like years ago already. I first of all just want to commend, I know where Sarah's in on year end and also wrapping things up, but preparing for ABO filings. HVADC has some similar schedules for the next couple months here. So I know we all have a lot on our plate, but I wanted to just say thank you so much for the continued support. As you can see from the report, our activity report that we pulled together with you, we've continued working with your support. Dutchess County has always been one of our stalwart original 4 core supporters in the Hudson Valley. Just to refresh everyone's memory, we work with Dutchess, Orange, Ulster, Sullivan, Rensselaer, Washington, and Albany counties. Historically, that has been with the IDAs or the community resource corporations, but we also work with some individual county economic planning departments, kind of depending on how the budget and structure is for that county. Dutchess County also has built us into the Ag and Farmland Protection Plan through county planning. We work very closely with Owen, and then that also has us piggybacking with Cooperative Extension and the Ag Navigator position. So starting out, just want to talk a little bit about one-on-one business technical assistance, our incubator without walls. And in certain years that also rolls over into our accelerator programs. In 2022, we focused on 4 or 5 individual businesses. I mentioned them on page 2 and going into page 3 of our Incubator Without Walls program. That historically is identifying an individual expert, whether that be legal, whether that be accounting, whether that be helping to apply for grant applications. And often it's an introduction or a liaison with Sarah, as she has interacted with an individual business on the ground and says, oh, no, we have a great resource for you. So, a few just highlights there. A potential meat processing project that we're helping connect with funding and capital. It's a startup. We're starting to see, in two of these projects are startups out of the 5 that we've talked about. An individual farm that currently is in Dutchess County, but rents land and was looking to actually transfer to a new location because of growth. So we assisted that farm with legal advice and expertise, both on kind of executing the transition with the existing landowner, but then negotiating lease with new landowners and staying in Dutchess County. A mycelium, or what we think of as fungus or mushroom startup potential for a protein alternative to red meat or animal meat. And Over Creek Brewing's longtime startup that is now getting into its early and mid stages of expansion and development, and help them assisting them with applying to some state funding through the CFA program. And then long-term project we've worked with Wild Hive, which is a small grain processing facility and startup that is now well into maturity. They have contracts with Italy and many other individual bakeries that want to source grain from New York grown and New York processed sources. Believe it or not, that's hard for baking, that's hard for brewing, and our partners at Wild Hive really do a great job at that. And then rolling from there, often those individual one-on-one technical assistance projects actually help businesses to be ready to apply for capital or to go into growth stages. And I want to just mention that with Sarah's support and Ron's support, we had received a new loan fund through the U.S. Department of Commerce, EDA, Economic Development Administration, through some CARES Act funds with the pandemic. And so we actually started up a new loan program that does cover Dutchess County in the Hudson Valley. And we have an applicant that we're moving into closing stages in the first quarter, a craft beverage company that's actually moving to Dutchess County, relocating and moving to Dutchess County. They've been highlighted in some great media. They're really ready to expand and have a larger presence and headquarters. Current Cassis. So we're actually working with them and doing a loan through our U.S. Department of Commerce EDA program. And then just wanted to also focus a little bit on Feed HV, which was born out of Dutchess County and the Community Fund, which as a mission is trying to reduce waste going into landfills, food waste, but also helping our farmers locate pantries and homes for consumable products that are not actually selling or can't sell. So not only are we reducing the waste and getting consumable food onto plates of families of need, but then we're also helping the farmers generate the necessary paperwork and record keeping in order to take that as a tax deduction. So Feed HV is our program. Dutchess County has a robust network within. It includes over 68 donors, which are both farmers and food companies like restaurants and stores. There's 41 individual agencies in Dutchess County that helped us move that into the community, and over 120 volunteers that actually pick the donated food up from the farm and move it to the pantry. So, all of that together has actually resulted in over almost 400,000 meals going into pantries from locally sourced food that was saved from going into landfills or composting. And this year, I just wanted to highlight that we again worked with Scenic Hudson, who has been incredibly gracious, especially through the pandemic. And they've been actually providing us with funds to actually purchase food at cost from certain farms and insert that into the food system, into the pantries. We've asked the pantries historically what they need or what they're lacking. Historically, we've seen dairy products, red meat products, but this time we actually focused on historically underserved farms, BIPOC farms, and we purchased food directly from BIPOC farms and then moved that into the pantry system. And that was a great opportunity for some of our underserved farms to actually be paid for food that might not otherwise have made it to market. And then lastly, the Dutchess County Advisory Committee, as I mentioned, we're part of support from the Ag and Farmland Protection Plan. I serve on the committee. Historically, we do have an annual meeting at the fair. We were able to get ag and markets down to make a presentation with that. And we also had Deputy Commissioner Aubertine there, or Deputy Comptroller Aubertine there, former commissioner. So those are just some of the things we're focusing on. And I'll take a break there because I know that's a lot, but there's, as you can see, you know, multiple pages of other accomplishments that we've done with your support.
Does anybody want to have any elaboration on any of the other things that that are in this?
Yeah, Chairman, is it possible that I could get a soft copy at some time for the presentation?
Sure.
I was at the annual ag meeting. It's a great opportunity, and it's very impressive at that time because the committee puts a lot of recognition into our young high school students that are members of FFA, and those young ladies, mostly ladies, and some young men are extremely impressive. And I don't throw comments around very easily.
Well, Don, I appreciate that recognition because, you know, Dutchess County does have a robust FFA program that has been growing, and kudos to the communities and cooperative extension for really fostering that. And the committee that you mentioned has been a great kind of petri dish to get that out and get that into, we've actually seen expansion into other districts in our existence. So
yeah, Wappingers has a organization, yeah. and actually through BOCES, as well as, you know, the stalwart up in Weebatuck and Pine Plains.
Yep.
Very important.
I noticed that obviously as cannabis becomes a commercial you know, reality in the state of New York, that you do have some master classes and series. What is the evolution of that whole infrastructure in our region as you see it, as it ties in with these future awarding of locations for actual retail cannabis stores?
Yeah, no, appreciate that. So we actually have been focusing on some current programs that historically help farmers and applied to those programs to really create, as you mentioned, kind of the masters or standalone content around cannabis. So there's a couple components there. We have seen a successful transition of CBD and hemp growers that were currently licensed to move into cannabis. And there was a successful crop this year. Just like anything else, though, if you don't have the market, you know, it really stymies growth and can inhibit the growers. So we're keeping our fingers crossed and at the same time, another hand with fingers on the pulse of the rollout of retail. Still a bit early to tell, but I will say if it's anything like craft beverage or other, I shouldn't say premium, but standalone product that is source identified and consumer preferred that we've seen, the Hudson Valley, Dutchess County is in, you know, premium position, both with market access and with growers that are willing to take risk and move into some of these new things. So again, fingers crossed, Tim, but we're trying to be there. Last thing we want is some sort of gold rush collapse, right? And we kind of saw some of that with CBD and hemp, and we want to make sure that cannabis doesn't have some of those same issues.
I know that there's a lot of requirements around the ownership structure of these retail locations. Is there any requirements that the ultimate awardees purchase their product from a local source, or are they able to purchase from wherever they choose?
New York source.
Any other questions about any parts of the presentation? As Todd mentioned, there's a lot here that he didn't talk about. So I really encourage people to, to read further if they want to get a sense of it. Okay. No other questions?
You were going to go on.
Yes. So Mark, if you could step out. Okay, so Sarah, maybe very briefly, you could talk about the resolution before us and, how the funding, we are funding an organization that's multi-county.
Yeah.
Not just Dutchess County. So how our funding is measured, as part of their, are we proportionally receiving the benefit of our funding to that organization?
So, what the board is considering is we typically have had with Hudson Valley Ag Business, a 3-year contract to provide services to Dutchess County-based businesses and residents. So what is before you is, a continuation of that contract for the next 3 years. So we provide them $25,000 annually to provide services, and then they are paid once they give the presentation at the end of the year. So today, now that they've given the presentation of the 2022, we are authorized to pay them $25,000 for 2022. So if the board feels in any way that the work is not, the services that they have provided for for that year is not adequate, the board does have the authority to modify that payment. But I would say that I work very closely with Todd on ag businesses, and the $25,000 is very, very well spent. He does I would say he does a lot of magic. Him and Marianne do a lot of magic with that, and so I do feel it is proportional, or probably inadequate of what they do, but.
Which I have a question about. Maybe this may sound crazy, but how long has that funding remained at 25,000?
Before me, so Todd will probably have a better idea.
2008, Chairman.
So, again, I hear and I see the amount of work that is done. And I wonder if, for the future, if we do feel that this organization is providing benefit to our county, should we consider, in budget, some type of an increase, cash, even inflationary, 2008 to now is a tremendous time period. So, I welcome discussion from the board, but, do we feel that, some type of, if possible, some type of an increase in this contract could be considered for the future?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chairman Dean, Don
Yes.
Stagliano. So, unfortunately, I couldn't be there today, and I don't have any of the presentation materials in front of me. But perhaps Todd could speak a little bit about the financial aspects of the organization, tell him what kind of shoestring budget he's working on, and then perhaps the board can, put some thought into perhaps increasing the contribution to this. It's a really important. Dutchess is an agricultural zone, and I think our county needs to support it, much like our mission statement, as we were addressing recreational and other opportunities. Agriculture covers a lot of those.
Yes.
aspect. So Todd, if you want to, maybe enlighten us a little more.
Sure. So number one, much appreciated. Our mantra since 2007 has been, under promise and over deliver. And also that we do perform and then request payment and reimbursement. And so we really appreciate the consideration. HVADC, as I mentioned, works with multiple counties across the region, and then takes those contracts as kind of our base, aggregated. So your 25,000 and other contracts similar to that from other counties. And then we get matching from philanthropic, state, and federal sources over the years. It's different. We have a different Petri dish every year. The compound, but the common denominator element in the compound is the commitment from the economic development and community development efforts of individual counties. And that's core to how we were founded, because we're created from a study that American Farmland Trust did back in the early 2000s, 2003, implementing this idea in 2005 to 2007 that a regional entity focused on agriculture as economic development and with community and economic development tools was missing. And that that's really what this is about. We have been lucky enough to show success and then be able to go to non-traditional federal funding sources like the EDA, U.S. Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration is not, as we usually hear of, like USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and also like the U.S. Department of Treasury and the SBA. So working with IDAs is critical because we recognize IDAs are legislatively hampered to many of their tools directly to farms, but they are not hampered in providing support that creates the business technical assistance and the capital programs that we have for businesses in their counties that happen to be farm and food dependent or related. So we've illustrated that. We also, as I mentioned, are part of the county policy in the Ag and Farmland Protection Plan, along with Orange County, Ulster County, Columbia County, the original core. We're also written into Albany County's Ag and Farmland Protection Plan, Rensselaer County's and Washington County's Ag and Farmland Protection Plans. So those 15 years of relationship that we have allowed us to illustrate that credibility and critical mass of what we do that complements extension, soil and water, and the other alphabet soups that are more on the farm and with production practices. We complement in the business side of it, whether it's, honing business costs, creating new product, value add production, or market side that then the farmers benefit from.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And I just want to add to Todd, to the work that Todd and the organization does is, in the 6 years that I've worked with Todd, he has expanded the organization in the product program offerings they have done. And then just to talk about success is that the Hudson Valley and then those three counties, those three counties are relatively recent additions, but that was because of the success they were seeing in the Hudson Valley. There is no other organization like this in New York State, and the Hudson Valley is seen as a leader in ag business as a result of the success of Todd and his team.
So what I'm going to suggest is that if you all think this is a good idea, I'm going to ask Sarah to have some discussions with Todd about if we were to consider a enhanced funding amount. I just spoke with Sarah very quickly, and she said that she feels that we probably could provide a little bit more funding to this organization. So perhaps what Sarah and Todd could do is talk about, if we were to do such a thing, what type of impact would that have? And then have Sarah come back to us with that potential for an increased amount. Does anybody have an objection to that? No. Okay, no. Do we need to approve this now, or could we wait a month for that?
We can wait a month because it's dated as of, so.
Yeah, okay. All right, so Todd, let's let's table the actual approval of the contract. And again, you talk with Sarah and she can give you some guidance on perhaps an amount we may be able to allocate and what, again, you can talk with her about the impact so that we understand that.
Yeah, I appreciate the dialogue.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Todd?
No, great job.
Yes, thank you so much. I mean, clearly a multiplier effect.
Great. Well, we appreciate y'all approving our payment for 2022 and look forward to the conversation. And again, one thing I will say is I know Mark has left the room, but any individual members, feel free, contact Sarah, contact Mark, myself. If you have an idea for a program or a project or a question on those 10 pages, Don, you'll be getting your 10 pages.
Actually, I did locate them. Sorry.
So if anyone has any questions, never hesitate. Myself and Mary Ann Johnson are available anytime.
Great. Thank you again. And we'll, I'm sure, talk again soon.
Great. I'm going to sign off, guys. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get Mark back in. Or actually, before Mark comes in, what I am going to suggest is that Sarah, I'm sorry.
Todd is trying to get.
There you go.
Okay.
I was going to suggest that maybe Sarah talk with Todd about a $5,000 or a $10,000 funding increase could do to help the organization. Don's writing something down. What is that?
30,000.
30,000. You have to go to 30.
Or step it up, it's a
Step it
3-year.
up.
Yeah, it's a small amount in the scope of
Right.
things from us, but you can see what an impact
Yeah.
it could have in that organization.
Yeah, I
So-
was up at Hudson Valley Fresh Bottling. They told me how they just kind of stumbled into a marketing plan and all the products from the various farms were selling out of various stores within the area. And it was just, a little bit of marketing helped all those farmers tremendously. So maybe we can provide a little bit more to
Exactly.
help them with marketing or something.
Sure.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, no, it was there, I mean, yeah, what Todd and Marianne do is quite remarkable. We refer, ag-related businesses to them all the time. One of the great products that they offer is a loan fund. And so while we have other loan funds, to have a loan fund that's specifically targeted to food and ag is a really special product that other parts of the state do not have
Well,
access
again,
to.
we'll
So,
let you talk with him and you come back to us where you think it could have the most impact. But it sounds like there's a general consensus that the organization is worthy of it.
I like Jamie's idea too, giving them an increase
Sure.
over 3 years, so
Yeah.
X amount this year.
Yes.
Yeah, so we
Increase
don't
this
do
much
this again.
percentage, this much percentage.
An organization like that, if they have a certainty of a certain amount of funds, it allows them to make decisions.
Correct.
Correct.
If it's annually unpredictable. So, okay.
Okay.
Okay, Mark? Thanks. Okay, moving on. Okay, the next thing, point of discussion is a resolution authorizing Sarah to enter into agreement with Duchess Tourism for professional services. Sarah?
Yes.
let's talk about
So Melaine is here for the renewal of our service, professional service contract with tourism. So typically, we renew contracts once the year-end presentation has been made. In this case, tourism's year-end report is not complete because she is still waiting for information from other data sources. But also typical, it's been the practice of the board to authorize the renewal of this, or the execution of this contract because of cash flow issues that tourism experiences, and they use the IDA funds to leverage matching grants from the state and other sources. So, so Melaine is here to ask the board for the execution of the contract.
I mean, it was great to be with you in December and you got kind of an update then on what we're working on again, when you're dealing with vegan campaigns, and we did run campaigns through the end of the year. So we're still waiting for those numbers. The numbers that we had leading up to that all looked very, very good. We spent more money in December than we have in the past. It's a down time for tourism. And we saw more visits to our website in December than we ever had. And so that media is drawing that attention to get people to plan their trips during the slower time. So right now where we're at is we have, if you remember the international booking season, the IDA funds a significant portion of that work that we do. That's happening right now. And so, that Australian market has reopened for us, which is great. That's a really strong market for us. They come, they stay longer, they spend more money, they stop in our office and visit and say hello. And so we'll be making, Mary Kay had gone a number of years ago. This year, we're making a return trip in partnership with Brand USA. That's the Duchess Tourism for the whole country. And so working in partnership with them and with I Love New York to draw that. So all of that is happening right now. And so having these dollars now is very helpful for us.
Questions? Okay, Sarah, would you talk about the actual amount and?
Yes, so the actual amount of the contract is for $425,000. This is the same amount. It has remained for the past, I think, 2 contracts.
Well, oh yeah, because we
changed film, we increased film a couple years ago, so this is the same amount as last year and the year before.
And it's 425,000?
And then it is, part of those funds are allocated to Duchess Film as well as Mid Hudson Arts.
100,000 for Mid Hudson Arts and 25,000 for Hudson Valley Film.
Correct. Also in your packet is their scope of services as a Schedule A of what they would be delivering.
And that was sent out to everybody
Yes.
a few days ago.
2 days ago, and it is included in the packet.
Okay,
Sarah, I just want to let you know the link to the regular meeting packet is not working for me.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a huge item.
Okay.
The
Well,
download does work. Yeah.
the down,
Try the download,
Okay.
the PDF at the bottom.
okay, any other discussion? Okay, again, I'm gonna, mention, I think as we are capable and as we look at contracts moving forward, I do want to suggest that we look at the impact that, inflation and just costs have affected all organizations that we deal with. And if we have not looked at them in a number of years, I think, we should take a look at it. I'm not looking to, again, excessively spend money, but as an example, if we feel a partner like the prior one has been doing a good job, we haven't changed funding since 2008. That's, if we can, we should think about that. So at any rate, I mentioned that not just for this one, but for others. And again, as our funds allow. Okay, so we're looking to a motion to approve, to give you the resolution, or the authorization. Could I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Al. Can I get a second?
Second.
Amy, thank you. Jasmine, could you take a roll call vote on this?
Al Torrigiani,
Approved.
Don Saviano,
Approved.
Jim Picone,
Approved.
Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Mark Doyle,
Approved.
and Dean.
Approved. Okay, the final item of new business is the authorization for check signing as of January 11th. That would be myself, Mark Doyle, Kathleen Bauer, Sarah Lee, and Jane Denbaum. And there are dual check approval requirements for checks exceeding $10,000 in place. And I think I've mentioned at prior meetings, I also received myself from Jane, a list of all checks that will be signed and what they're for prior to that happening. So I do feel that there's really good checks and balances within the organization. But again, if anybody has any questions before we do this? Okay, could I get a motion to authorize this approval?
So moved.
Thank you, Al. Could I get a second? Mark? Thank you, Mark. Jasmine, could you please take the vote?
Al Surjani,
Approved.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
Jim Picone,
Approved.
Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Mark Dorf,
Approved.
Tim Dees.
Approved. Okay. So I'm going to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Directors, the monthly meeting.